What's good, YouTube? Cardfight King here, AQUA Life Baby. You already know how it is. So, today, guys, I kind of wanted to do a little tutorial in a sense on pretty much how I do it, but a good way you can use Tidal early game. Generally, when you're playing Blue Waves or like Thavis, for instance, or whatever it is, other than Foivos and Blue Wave, Tidal is really the only other card that works early game that's not Generation Break restricted that we can call out and get a nice ability with. Because as you guys know, one, yes, he is my favorite card in Aqua Force, pretty much after my man's, but pretty much. You attack with him, he restands for free, loses 5k, and then, you attack with him with a boost. So it becomes a 4k hitter, 4 and 5 is 9 in a sense. So using him early game is something that generally you want to be able to use. Getting that Tidal rush off early game, put our push damage, push out shields on our opponent. It's kind of what we want to do. So pretty much how I see it is that there are just a lot of different ways you can go about using Tidal Assault. Obviously, this is also dependent on your hand early game because you're really not drawing, cards like that, or you're not triple driving, twin driving anything early game. So generally, when you ride your grade 2, now your opponent has like, a lone Vanguard, for instance, right? Lone Vanguard. You have a Tidal Assault in your hand, you call him out. Now, you have two guaranteed attacks, potential 3 attacks. Now you can go about this one or two ways. You can attack with Tidal Assault for 9k first, right? Attack for them for 9k. Force them to they're either going to guard it or they're going to no guard it. If they no guard it and they hit a trigger, then when you reset him, Tidal will only be at 9. This column will only be at 9, sadly. So then you would swing with your Vanguard column, and more likely than not, they're going to give you they're going to just say trigger to hit, and hopefully, you do hit that trigger. But if not, you're just going to get one attack off. Now, that's just if attack with him first and they no guard it there. If you attack with your Vanguard first, and they either, if they guard it, that's like, okay, great. They did guard this attack. Now I can, do my drive check. Now let's just say if this was not a trigger, this was vanilla, right? Okay, so they're gonna no guard. If they no guard it, or if they do guard it, excuse me, then that means that you get another guaranteed attack off with Tidal Assault, forcing them to either take the damage or drop shield. Now, again, that means that if they take a damage and it is a trigger, then pretty much you're going to end your turn because, just stand him because this column can't hit anymore. If they don't hit a trigger, you restand him and then you can attack him again, forcing them to either take another point of damage or guard. Now, if you do attack with your Vanguard, they know, and then they no guard it, and you do hit, and let's say they do hit a trigger, and you didn't get a trigger, you still have a 14k column that can swing on them to force them to take another damage or a guard. Now, if you did hit a trigger on your attack and they no guarded, they did hit a trigger, and you give your trigger effect to Tidal Assault. Tidal will swing for a base of 14, so regardless if they hit a trigger or not, they're going to have to either guard with a 5 or 10k shield, trigger dependent, or just take the damage. And then when you restand, you have another 14k column coming at them. Now, if they took damage both times and hit 2 triggers, obviously that's unfortunate, but you can still, maximize your damage from that perspective. So really, when they have a singular Vanguard, it depends on what you want to go for. Attacking with your Vanguard first is a less risky play in a sense, because when you attack with your Vanguard first for a base of 9, if they guard, you have 2 attacks or just 1 attack coming from here. So you're going to get a shield out from them if they guard, and then either get a damage out or another shield out. And if they do shield it, then you can restand attack with this. A lot of the times, it's kind of like you always take the first hit to prevent Tidal from being able to swing twice. Obviously trigger dependent. But Well, generally what I like to do on a singular Vanguard is attack with this one first, more or less because if I don't get a trigger, I still and they do get a trigger, then I still have a 14k column that they to attack them with. But if they don't get a trigger and this attack does hit, that means that I have a 9 attack here, and if they no guard it and don't hit a trigger, then I have another 9. If they do guard it, then I can throw another 9 at them. So it's really just, again, a lot of it is really just dependent on, if your opponent has a trigger or, hits a trigger on damage or not. And, what their preference in guarding is. Do they take the first damage? Do they not take the first damage? And, things like that. But if, perhaps they have, 2 cards on the board, generally in this situation, what I do is like, I'll take my Vanguard and I'll attack the rear guard. Now, attack the rear guard with them. Now, they're either going to guard the rear guard, lose a shield by guarding the rear guard, or they're going to no guard and let me hit the rear guard. Now, you drive check, you don't get anything, but you do kill off the rear guard. Now, you can attack them for 9. Now, then that's when they get into their other decision. Is now I'm going to attack them Tidal for 9. So I cleared off a card off their board, attack them for 9. If they take the damage, no trigger, I can restand attack again. If they take the damage and they do trigger, that's fine because I got an attack off, got a card off the board early, and I still got a hit on their Vanguard at the same time. And if you now... And, also, if I do attack this, and let's say I do drive check, and, I get, a trigger, then that means that I can swing 14 on him once. They either guard it and then take another 14, or they no guard it, hope to hit a trigger. If not, they're gonna have to deal with another 14, another 10k shield in that instance. And if it's and also obviously if it's a crit trigger and you stack a crit trigger on Tidal Assault, that's obviously just strong in a sense because you can hit the other thing. Tidal swing 14k with a crit. Now that means that they're either going to take this damage and they're going to take 2 points of damage, and generally just them taking 2 points is kind of what I was pushing for. But if they block the first hit and then take the second hit, I'm still achieving what I wanted to achieve. But if they take the first hit and they get at least one trigger, they're still going to be forced to block this next one, or else they're going to be taking another 2 points of damage if he has a crit on him. And if they hit 2 triggers, then oh well, we still got our 2 damage off. Just take solace in that respect. For that. So there's, again, usually my preference for this is why I move my starter here to the side is because Tidal would need a booster because after he attacks, he's a 4K and he would need something else. And generally, I don't want to commit an extra card from my hand to the board to boost Tidal. I don't want to ride, have him as my boost, have him as my booster here, and then be forced to commit another card to the board for Tidal, for Tidal swing when opponents from what I've noticed now are just you just no guard the Vanguard attack. You're just no guarding the first Vanguard attack. And since they're generally no guarding the Vanguard attack, you play against Night Rose sometimes, and it's sure, if they have a 10k shield and they're being wary damage, they're playing a little bit more defensive, they're going to, throw a 10k shield, past your Vanguard, sure. And that's going to happen if they have, if they feel they have the shield to expend for that. Sometimes, they don't, especially if, they're carrying a heal trigger in their hand as their only 10k shield. A lot of times, maybe they'll throw down a 5k shield and give you a 1 to pass. And to me, that's kind of dangerous in a sense. I'd rather not give someone a 1 to pass. I'd rather, especially early game, I'd rather just no guard, save the shield in my hand for, the stride turns and things like that in the instance. But, generally if it's a heal trigger in their hand, they're not going to throw that down. They're going to save that for stride because they want to G-guard. Heal triggers actually have a purpose now, rather than before G Guardians, it was before G Guardians, it was whatever. It's a heal trigger, dang it, I'm mad I drew it, so I'll just throw it out as, shield. So, that's pretty much why I want to move him to the side, because I just want to have a booster already set for him. So when my opponent's at grade 1, grade 2, this column is going to be able to have the potential to attack twice, at least once, but attack twice. Now, the other factor I want to talk about when, calling out Tidal Assault is tendencies about what opponents do. And a lot of the times, opponents are going to want to take Vanguard, swing a Tidal Assault. Usually Vanguard with a boost 14k Tidal Assault or rearguard Tidal Assault, and then if you then you can like bait them, you can like rearguard Tidal Assault. Okay, was it 9k? I'll block that. Then they'll swing 14 at Tidal Assault. They don't want to deal with another turn of Tidal Assault when you go into your grade 3. They want to make sure to get Tidal off of the board generally as soon as possible, so they don't have to deal with multiple attacks from him, and so they're going to target him a lot. Now, one thing with Tidal Assault, you do have to be wary, and sometimes you don't just call him out to call him out. It's like, if you have another copy of Tidal in your hand or something like that, or you drive check one or whatever it is, sure, you can leave him out there, have him be like a scapegoat, and you can probably block a rearguard attack from him and let the Vanguard swing and hit him. But the thing is, it's like, sure, I didn't take any damage, I kept my damage low, all I did was lose a shield and lose Tidal. But that shield was more or less to bait my opponent into swinging at Tidal again instead of swinging at my Vanguard. You can do that. Another thing is that sometimes Tidal might be your only multi-attacker, whatever it is in your hand that you have. You have one of just those really bad hands, and he's like your only multi-attacker, and he's just, you didn't have to ride him, but only multi-attacker. You can take a risk and throw him out. But generally, if I take a risk and throw him out, in that case, in that instance, to protect him for what I want to go for following turn, going for a high risk, high reward type play, I'll throw him out, and then I hope to have a shield in my hand to guard him, so I can at least have a chance of protecting him going into my next turn, so I can use him, as my multi-attacker, again, depending on, how my hand is, but if you have like a backup Tidal Assault, sure, throw him out, call him out, attack, do what you need to do, bait your opponent if you want to, or just let your opponent, if they have a singular Vanguard column, swing at Tidal, that's fine. You escape damage this turn, all you did was, lose Tidal, but then you can call one out next turn. If you have like backup rear guards for whatever type of turn you're going to go into next, then you can lose Tidal, or do the bait and switch type of play. But again, when it comes to Tidal Assault and things like that, there are different ways you can definitely use him early game, and that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about with this video, is pretty much how I use it, and what things that I am looking out for. Obviously, against decks that have the ability to control your board, like maybe like Link Jokers or whatever it is. Obviously, you see Chaos here. They can like Chaos Bringer this, Photon this. Now you have 2 cards locked, and then they can do things. So again, that's for a different video. That's just for deck awareness and things like that. But I just showing you some general information of how I like to use Tidal Assault and in different situations when I'm against it. Now, if your opponent was at like grade 1, sure, attack, and then you get your attacks off, and then if they ride and they try to kill this, well then you now have, and he was able to stay on the board for the next turn. You now have another turn they have to deal with Tidal Assault, especially if you already had one in your hand. You can like just, okay, they ride their grade 2, then I ride my grade 3, and then I can twin drive, have a higher chance of hitting a trigger and stacking on Tidal Assault, and then my opponent has to deal with like a 14 to 19k Tidal Assault, depending on triggers, 9 to 19 in a sense. So that's the video, guys. Just wanted to show you some general knowledge, share some general knowledge on how I use Tidal Assault, how I go about protecting him, match dependent, how my attack patterns are. Again, like I said, I usually like to go Vanguard at rear guard, get a guaranteed kill off, reduce advantage on board and then have 1 attack, potential 2 attacks, or if I hit a trigger, 2 guaranteed attacks from Tidal Assault on my opponent's 9k or less Vanguard that will go through. Obviously, when you play against decks like Luard, even Tachikaze's, on this day, they have like the 10k vanilla. They had Tachi's, for 10k vanilla for Luard, for like Tachikaze's, they play that 11k Engorge card or whatever it is. So obviously, when you see that card, your situational awareness should be kicking in. Like, okay, I know Tidal ain't gonna hit anything, and my Vanguard is 9k. So what I can do is I can get a guaranteed 14k off on the 10k, and then they can either guard or take it. Then I can swing 9K, and then they're most likely going to give me a 1 to pass if they took this and didn't hit a trigger. Just give me a 1 to pass, and hopefully I hit that trigger to put some more damage. On them. But again, when it comes to 10K, 11K, grade 2 Vanguards and whatnot, or less, depending if you're running that grade 1 thing or not from the trial decks, that's just situational awareness that you have to be aware of when using Tidal Assault and whatnot. But that's the video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be trying to do some more Aqua Force tutorials, pretty much on how how to use, or how generally I like to use certain cards in some more generalized situation. If you want me to get specific against different clans and whatnot, definitely let me know, and I can always put out a video for that. So this is Cardfight King. Hope you guys enjoyed. AQUA Life Baby. You already know how it is. Peace.